Hi, gang. Kathy Vick, deeply awake, resident ascensionist, on duty and at your service. Hello. How's it going for you? Just you. It's just your eyes looking at my eyes here. And, there are moments in any person's life when it's not going so good. You're confused or tired or hurting or rejected or many, many things. And it's not going so good. And then there are other times when things are going actually really well. There seems to be coherence to daily life, and synchronicity is shot through it all, and things are really cooking with gas. I have done a lot of life review, as you all know. But it's actually been a little bit, it's been for a purpose. Because part of my journey was to live a twinned life, to live one life, to go through a series of initiations, and then to begin life as a different creature in the same body. That is, to me, the definition of ascension. It's also, actually, what happens when someone, I don't know, decides that they're going to work on their alcoholism or their sex addiction or their inescapable defeats or whatever it happens to be. And so my life has really been about examining dissonance, understanding myself in this walk, and reconciling myself to the behavior of others. That's been about it. What I have seen the last few weeks, I'll tell you, bit by bit. Let me start with, what should I start with? On the equinox, I found myself on a mountain, digging into the earth. Undone, as always, that sight just undoes me and opens me up. I was told, though, I was shown, that on that equinox, as I made my way to the dig, I saw that I was walking through an enormous portal. And it was a different reality in the area I was walking to from the portal. And they explained, there's no leaving this reality. I'll be walking off that mountain, but in that state that they showed me prior. That's true. Things that were always confounding to me are suddenly so crystal clear, and there is such relief. Physical, spiritual, emotional peace. So that was one thing. And on the mountain, again and again and again, the message was, this is all just experience. Not good, not bad, not sainted, and not evil. It's all simply experience. And it was a thought that inhabited me and breathed me and continues to. A few days later, in the morning time, I was getting messages first thing, which is, just how it goes these days. But something clicked, and as I was, and the whole message was perfectionism. Perfectionism is like a flag. It's if I feel it inside of myself, I sense it on the outside, then I'm in resistance. I'm blocking something. I'm afraid. But what happened after that was this emotional roller coaster for about 10, 15 minutes of images and thoughts and irreconcilable awarenesses. And most of it had to do with my social being. Feeling so uncomfortable around people, so self-judging and angry and judgmental and ugh. Well, it was very uncomfortable. It was very loud. And it was a full body experience. It was a full being experience. And then I went to my little bathroom, which is just a little, very small rectangle. And I went in there as I prefer, with it dark. And as I was in there, I felt such like relief. I felt contained. I felt stable and solid and present. And I remember saying out loud, my God, out there, I didn't feel like I had any skin. But here, where it's quiet and contained, I know that I am here. It had always been very confusing to me how I could completely and utterly lose myself and not exist around others. I didn't like that. I was a nurse. My service existed. I wasn't important. What I could do for others was me. I went to work the next 3 days, contained, remembering what it feels like to have skin. And I had the most beautiful days, glorious. I didn't look back on any of my conversations or experiences in self-hate or in fear or in a need to edit or fix. That's a new experience for me. I just simply have never had that experience before. Ever. So I've done a lot of work on self, identity, death, transformation. And I began to realize that, well, I'll give you another event. And this was another singular event. Excuse me. I have someone attracted to me right now who is fully functional, who would add color and light to my life, and who clearly adores me. And I'm not interested. I'm interested in friendship. And I usually feel guilty about that. And I have really big FOMO, fear of missing out. And not really being able to figure out why it is that this is not something that I want to pursue, but being happy that it's available. it's nice. Then I met someone who is led by passion and such a sharp intellect and such an open and glorious heart. And I realized, it's really okay to say no to someone if it doesn't feel right. And then it went further. This person who I encountered, I came upon them in meditation. And in that meditative state, it was clear that as equals and as beauties and as free agents, a relationship with that person would just be phenomenal. So, in meditation, I was just an open statement of fact, of yes. And that person looked at me, and I realized that their sexual orientation was not mine. And as they looked at me, they said, well, for you, I'd be willing. And the energy that came at me was so ambivalent. It was so inauthentic. It was a yes and a no fused. And I realized in a flash that's what I had been doing to people. And that's part of the reason why people have been responding to me as they have. In my willingness to please everyone. In my greed and hunger for experience and for love. I have said to many people, yeah, for you I will. And I realized in a flash that state is pure inauthenticity. And in a flash, I saw how I had conducted this past lifetime in such a fashion. Going to a job I really didn't like anymore. To belong. To maybe one day get a kind word. To be of help. But it wasn't my song. I saw how this translated into so many areas of my life. This inauthenticity. And I've worked with this self. Is it a pain self? Is it a tortured self? Is it an inauthentic self? Is it a lower agreement self? Who is this self who, when I'm at work and someone does something and I'm literally like on fire with resentment and anger? It's like, what? Where did that come from? Why am I so angry? That was really tricky. It was very easy to assign this to others. They were just obliging me. I hadn't yet learned how to be honest and fearless about myself. It helped to have that meditation because I didn't like how it felt to to not hear a hell yes. And I've been saying that for quite some time. If it isn't a hell yes, then it's a no. It's a no. Especially when it comes to, for me, when it comes to sexual expression. And, this is quite a change for me. And I'm really happy about it because it's further proof of what's really going on here. I was born in 1961. And my natal chart indicates that I would be locked into darkness. And I would think it was mine, and that it was me, that I would lose sight of who was witnessing what. And that natal chart came with a yod, a boomerang yod, divine discontent. And this yod was a perfect expression of what I'd be doing here. Uranus in the 12th house, Lilith in the 11th, the moon in the 10th, leading down to one singular point, that of Saturn. And sure, I did my fair share of zapping the patriarchy, but truly what was happening is I was zapping my own constrictions. In that lifetime, began to loosen its grip on me. By October of 2011, physically I went through changes, and I saw a wall of light when I contemplated the spring, and I couldn't go past May 25 of 2012. It was literally a wall of light. Every time I would try to go through it, I couldn't. It wasn't event horizon. It was my ascension. It was my death. It was my rebirth. And it has taken 6 years of work to integrate that light. I know now who I am. It came to me around the equinox, It's real easy to believe myself a very dark and dangerous and perverse person. And around the right people, that's a role that I'm required to play. I know myself to be a savant, a mystic, a soul. And these two states are very incompatible. And those two states spring from the lower agreement field. These polar opposites, this life and death stuff, this all or nothing stuff, that's a constricted consciousness. The natal chart that I was given on May 25 of 2012 allows me to hold my consciousness differently. It allows me to assume different meanings. It gives me familiarity and comfort with things that I hadn't been familiar with or comfortable with previously. But it's really been a question for me. Do I really want to go just from one set of limitations to another? Is that really what I want to do? For me, that's answered by understanding that I am the one who is aware of both lifetimes, of what is afoot, of what's possible for me. That's who I am. I am not the pain self, the tortured self, the cowering and cowardly self. Neither am I. The destroyer, the betrayer. But I have done all of those roles. I've been a bully. I've been mean. I've been selfish. I've been cold. I've been all those things. And it's past now. I don't feel quite as beholden to an expression that doesn't feel very comfortable anymore. It didn't happen overnight. It took 6 years of work. I know I am light. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. My body relaxes when I say the words, I am light. It's something I can understand. This lower agreement field is designed to keep you ensnared. That's the whole idea. And the stickiness that's on your shoes when you walk around that agreement field is fear. We fear what we don't understand. We fear what we can't accept as relevant, and that we assign a harmful nature to. I think about that bathroom. I think about the solidity and my awareness that I'm physical and I'm not the thoughts I'm thinking. I am the thinker of those thoughts. And there is peace. I know full well that it's difficult for many to shake off the beliefs and expectations and assumptions of their past. I am also living proof of how hard that is. I have struggled a lot. But I have to kind of use my, not so much my mood state, but the availability of clear thinking as my true north. So yeah, realizing I am light. I can live with that. And now the training is much more physical, and I want to end with that. I woke up, I think it was yesterday, kind of laughing because the only word I heard at first was descension. It's like, yeah, it's weird. It seems like every night I go away, and in the morning I come back, and I'm really kind of getting a feel for this descension stuff. To me, descension simply means stepping down the frequency to inhabit the body and inhabit the daily life. And the question is, the body's gonna do its thing. It's animated. The consciousness is gonna do its thing. It's animated. The circumstances are gonna do its thing because it's animated. What are you gonna do? Who are you? Who's experiencing this? And now it's like more of an easily accessed peace. It's not a shocking idea. It's simply peaceful to think on the truth that I am light. I am light. Incarnate. I am uncomfortable even going, the God route or the creator route or anything like that. I am light. I am light. And as such, I can do much. And I find it very rewarding and reassuring that I can have the experience of knowing in my core and throughout my being that I am this thing that might seem like an abstraction. It is not an abstraction to me. It is a statement of fact. It's a doctrine of faith. It lets me release from the lower agreement field and from the fear. And it's not an idea that I read in a book and then tried to apply and, wrote, I am light 100 times so I believe it. Instead, it's like someone bumping into me and saying, oh, by the way, did you know? Kind of like that. If I am light, then I am also my shadow. As a corollary, what is a shadow? A shadow is created when light is shown on an object, and the object casts the absence of light around it. The shadow is an illusion. But what we've done is believe that the illusion is real, so shadows are very scary. There's a peace inside of me that I didn't have before. It's organic. I see my life making sense in a different way. I have clarity where I didn't have it before, and I have peace and a sense of just buoyancy where once I did not. And my concern has always been that I'll have these feelings of stability, and then the next crisis comes. Then the next hysteria hits. The next life or death scenario comes upon me. And I would feel dismantled. I would feel undone by that. Like this coherence wasn't real. What's real is the nonsense. Because that's what's getting my attention. And there was such an emotional resonance with that, such an identification with it. It being conflict and difficulty and ambivalence and dishonesty. So I think what I'm seeing is decisions being made by me now with a better understanding of who and what I am, with a deep happiness at it simply being acknowledged. Me being acknowledged by me. It was very unusual realizing that when I was thinking all those thoughts, all those conflicted thoughts, all the opposites and all of the distressing things, and I felt like I didn't have any skin. It really felt like that. I felt like I was like this. Oh. and I was a stage on which multitudes were acting out their plays. And then having the experience of feeling so contained, I realized being in that big, affected state that's quite a skill. And to maintain that for decades, oh my. But I really don't want to stay there anymore. I want to personalize it. I want to live it more and more. I want to descend. So, it's just a little talk. I'll leave you with an experience that I had a couple nights ago. I was in a room with people with varying interests, but all of them were seekers. And we were all enjoying the big stuff, the pure stuff. We were talking about near-death experiences and shamanism, soul death, spiritual death, death walking, ascension, all of it. And it wasn't just me and somebody else, it was a room full of people. Everyone had their own ideas, and everyone had their own level of consciousness. And I could sense around the room those who were in frank opposition, those who were in ambivalent opposition, those who were just learning and thinking themselves so advanced. The silent, the speaker, all of them. I realized, geez Louise, I have been all of those people. I've been the one in the corner saying shit things about the person who's giving a talk. I've been the one who's challenged the person giving the talk. I've been the one who's sucked the air out of the room because I wanted to say my truth instead of listening to theirs. I've done all of that. I realized weirdly that I could see myself in every single person there. It was inappropriate to compete with anyone. It was inappropriate to show off or to explain or to do anything but just be honest and to flow with where people wanted to go. Toward the end of the evening, I was able to talk about this event on May 25 and about my life just briefly. Throughout that night, I realized again and again and again and again how vastly rich and verdant my knowledge is. And when I heard from the people around that circle say thank you to me for just saying what I've been through, I realized it's so true. What they had told me like 2 months ago, driving down the road, and I saw this cocoon and this electric blue butterfly emerging from it. And they said, "Look, you, notice." And the cocoon opens. It doesn't reveal goo. What emerges is fully formed. And I really didn't have an experience proving that to me until that night. Sitting there shocked, knowing these last 6 years, and by extension, my entire lifetime, that's what this has been about. Transforming. And it removed the fear of the new. It has. Knowing that it's already done. It's just getting used to things in a different way. So, we're going to have some fun today. And what I'm realizing is that when I'm leading and am led by, this sensation, it's honesty. It's matching the inside with the outside. It's being in agreement with my actions, my words, my thoughts, and my emotions. What I have been through, especially the last 6 months, I'd say, since the hip surgery, has been finishing school and transition time. And every single day, when I do look back, I'm just awed that I'm here and not there. Grateful to be here and not there. Certain that everything is just fine. I don't really want to talk too much about current events. I think that for the most part, they're there to trigger people's shit. This is what it's all about now. It's not so much physician heal thyself. It's human know yourself. It's time to go within. And really, the trauma that's being portrayed in the media, the trauma that might be part of your life, who knows? It points out the absurdity of the human condition. It points out your strength. And hopefully it points out dissonance, because when something doesn't feel good, there's a reason. It's time to start listening. It's time to begin to know. I know that everyone is on their own path, and I'm really glad about that. I don't feel so worried anymore. The empath narcissist kind of complex of feeling responsible for someone else's awareness or reality, with an examination, has resolved. And I think that's worthy of a little video. Things are better now. They will continue to improve. I no longer worry about things breaking apart, always before they did. I was breaking attachments. So I really want to give you this before I leave. I was listening to a QHHT session. There was an entity that was attached to this person's heart. An entity who had wanted to be born, but who was terminated, and who had never left. And all that entity wanted was to be acknowledged, to have their love acknowledged, and to be part of that person. And the person in hypnosis meditation said, "You don't have to attach to me. You can always find me in the light." And hearing that changed me. It changed me. I am available to all, but I am available in the light. I'm not available to attachments anymore. I've worked a lot with that. And as my work with light and breath and water becomes more focused, my daily routine is changing. My habits are changing. I'm not changing the habits because I want to be a better person. I'm simply listening to the guidance and surrendering. I hope this finds you well and at peace. And if you aren't, I hope you know how loved you are, how important you are. how divine you are. If you don't believe you are, perhaps you can look at your behavior and see that, yeah, some of it hasn't been very divine. And that's okay. It was an experience. You going to double down on it? You're going to try something new. It's up to you. Life is for learning, right? That's really all I have to say today. I hope that these changes are finding you ready. I will, at 45, 47, I will say that I'm getting a lot of information about the event, and I see a lot of people going nuts about it, just like they did with the solstice. And I do understand that, the sun is bound to go hiccup, and it wants to belt something at us. But I also understand that what's going on here is so much bigger than we can possibly understand. And when you get a little hint of it, when you begin to see the weave, the only thing that's appropriate is to surrender. We are safe. Everything is fine. And this is quite a ride. That's all I have to say, I guess. I'll see you later. Say hi.